Have you had instances of sexual harassment in the workforce? Were you afraid to share your stories out of fear of being blacklisted? Fear of retaliatory behavior? The truth is, many corners within our industry live producers who capitalize on wielding intimidation as a tool. They belittle their subordinates as part of a control tactic. And anyone affected by sexual violence can reach out to the National Sexual Assault Hotline. I'm going to speak about a friend who had to deal with one of these yellers every day, and even when he fixed a problem for a client, was fired on Christmas Eve for doing his job. He was replaced by one of the many chicken heads that are all over the Los Angeles landscape. And for young aspiring content creators and filmmakers joining the ranks of the new Hollywood generation, this directly applies to you. All of that coming up. Welcome to Hollywood Unapologetic. My name is Orlando Dilbert. I wanted to speak a little bit about filmmaking essentials, the yellers of Hollywood, gatekeepers and chicken heads, industry-wide toxicity, and the threat of retaliatory behavior. I should mention before we get into it, I first wrote about some of what we're about to touch upon, success in filmmaking in life and how it applies as part of the new Hollywood generation when I was writing Pollyanna's tear-soaked Battlefields of Hollywood, Survival Guide Against the Cynicism and the Hypocritical. We want to know your questions, comments, and suggestions you may have. Please write them below. Leave a thumbs up if you like what you see. Make sure to click on the subscribe button. Click that bell so you don't miss anything. Be sure to check out the videos in the playlist. New to film production? Start here. Be sure to watch all the way through. We're going to speak about a lot of things as part of being prepared. Remember, preparation is the key to you and your project's success. In the previous episode, we discussed sexual harassment in the entertainment industry and how the value system leans very much toward a men-controlled patriarchal ecosystem, very much like a boys' club. One thing I brought up time and time again were stories of how intimidation runs rampantly throughout the entertainment industry. Many use intimidation tactics to keep up-and-coming talent at bay. Many of them fall into a group I call the yellers. I've been fortunate enough to avoid much direct contact with those producers who like to measure their own dicks all of the time. I mean the yellers. I call them this because they are yelling at the top of their lungs about unimportant matters of no consequence most of the time. These are often producers at smaller production companies or agencies. You'll know them fairly quickly because they are most likely related to that guy standing in an underwear ad in a magazine. You know, the one holding a cup filled with pomposity and pointing out into space. Ah, the flavor means I'm a dick. Hopefully he's not that guy. For many of you, you will most likely be working as a production assistant in your early years at a production company or studio. Your job may entail picking up dirty laundry and dropping it off at the cleaners, walking the executive producer's dog, picking up the shit of the aforementioned executive producer's dog, ordering coffee and then picking it up, and many other tasks one might find remedial. You're basically the shop monkey who just happens to know how to drive. You will probably be yelled at a lot. The yellers will expect you to anticipate their thoughts, wants, and needs before they know them themselves. Sounds tiring, doesn't it? A friend of mine worked as a receptionist at a boutique editorial house in Hollywood. Every day he was sent to pick up 2 cases of Snapple from a store in Venice. From Hollywood to Venice, the distance is approximately 15 miles. It would take him at least 45 minutes to drive each way on average at that time of day. This didn't include the time it takes to find a parking space, go into the store, get the 2 cases, and then take them back to the car. His boss expected him to be back in an hour and had to show the receipt of the purchase from that store. Every day this man would yell at the top of his lungs in my buddy's face because he was late. I guess the fact that he was belligerent and demeaning is a given, right? My buddy put up with it because he was hoping that part of paying his dues would be putting in enough time to be allowed to begin editing projects for the company. Almost a year went by and it was 2 evenings before Christmas. Everyone is on hiatus except for my friend. A client comes running through the door with a tape in hand, screaming the edit was entirely wrong. The owner of the company was not reachable at the time, and my friend had to decide what to do. He took it upon himself to recut the piece to make the client happy. On top of that, the editing system wasn't working properly. He had to fix it first while the client was waiting patiently. In the end, the client was happy, the edit was completed on time, and peace was restored to the universe once again. Until later that night, the client called the owner of the editorial house at his home to give praise to the new edit and for the professionalism of his employee. My buddy received another barrage of yelling and was fired the following morning for having the nerve to cut one of my pieces. That was Christmas Eve, by the way. He found out later he was replaced by one of those gatekeepers I keep mentioning throughout the series. She was just another chickenhead who cannot finish sentences that litter the Los Angeles landscape. She fit the negative stereotype to the letter, hired to catch the eye of clients when they walked through the door. She wasn't particularly bright, but always had an eye on everyone else's money. Every action had an underlining How is this person going to help me attach to it? I mean, she didn't even look real. She had ridiculously large fake breasts, injected lips, nipped and tucked everywhere. Couldn't blink her eyes from all of the surgery that was done, all before 23. I'm sure there were at least 2 or 3 sugar daddies in her past that paid for her bodily augmentations, and her name was something like Brandy with 3 E's. To add insult to injury, he was already an award-winning film director and picture cutter when he began working there. We have worked with one another on countless projects on screen and stage, and he is now a production executive for a major film studio. The point is, you will have some run-ins with these knuckleheads if not work directly with them. I would always laugh when sitting in traffic somewhere on Santa Monica Boulevard or on the 405 next to one of these guys yelling into his cell phone over stupid crap. I don't know how many of these coked up guys' conversations I've inadvertently overheard, but all too often it was just about having their coffee ready when they get there, or something far less significant. Does my speaking about the yellers sound familiar? Does anticipating their thoughts, wants, and needs before they know themselves sound tiring? Have you ever been replaced by one of these chicken heads, hired to catch the eye of clients when they walk through the door, but always had an underlining motive attached to their every action? Any of this does make sense, write hashtag New Hollywood Generation in the comments below. That's hashtag New Hollywood Generation. Bottom line, be prepared to come in contact with these kinds of people and scenarios. It will most likely be a recurring theme for many of you until you establish yourself. Even then, it will happen. I understand under highly stressful moments, people unwind and can lose control of themselves. We're all guilty of that. The yellers often do what they do as an extension of the perceived power they hold during their incumbency. They feel a need to belittle others in part to make themselves feel better. A true professional may unwind but will make an effort to apologize for their language once the pending doom has passed. Remember, if it's not life-threatening and no one has died today, it really is not that important. A friend of mine used to say that to me all of the time while working together on a very successful production. I consider that one of the best reminders I've ever received to hold on to every day. But as so many individuals who land a decent work situation in our industry puts up with the toxicity that comes along with it. And for any of you who has had to do the everyday grind to find work in the Hollywood trenches knows firsthand when a somewhat steady situation comes along, take it and do what you can to stick it out, even if it's not ideal. The thing is, finding work in our industry, anywhere, not just in Los Angeles, is hard. LA has a never-ending sea of the inexperienced and naive arriving daily. Predators stand in the shadows waiting for the next person to take advantage of. And even with the belittling behavior and sexual advancements, because of the difficulty of finding more work in an industry where everyone knows one another, the threat of retaliatory behavior is always looming. One can be labeled difficult or as a liability are common forms of retaliatory behavior in our industry. Even some producers start smear campaigns. These are all part of what some producers use as intimidation practices as ways to dispense fear. To belittle their subordinates is all part of the game, a control tactic. Many of you will come across in your travels those who capitalize on wielding intimidation as a tool. I come from the school of thought. Good managers pick each other up. Inclusion and acceptance of one another are fundamental parts of building any business and community. Fragile egos, however, feed a need to control others they may view as being weak or a threat. Throw in a high per diem and salary and even a German car, maybe a rail or two of cocaine for some, and it all helps give some holding the keys, the go-ahead for bad behavior. And unfortunately for some, this bad behavior leads to verbal and even physical abuse. Unfortunately, the treatment some accusers endure after coming forward is just horrid. The common thread of these stories seems to be that the women and men who fall victim to this behavior initially didn't share their stories out of fear of losing their jobs and in some cases being blacklisted. In addition to being labeled negatively and fear of being blacklisted, sometimes reporting an event to someone puts their privacy at risk. If either party is in any way in the public eye, it can upend his or her life. Your past will be under scrutiny and dug through as if they were using a rusty knife. Add to that the added fear of not knowing if you will be believed. You'll be questioned about your motives. Are you able to handle the repercussions? Are you ready to be ostracized? With all of these what-if scenarios running through your head, all too many carry around with them guilt after being violated. Each person deals with trauma in a different way. It is or should be up to him or her how to decide how they want to move forward. Regardless, it is up to you and I to be watchful of those around us, and not just those in the entertainment industry, but to everyone. There's no reason to justify assault of any type. And if you can find someone to talk to, someone you know and trust, someone you know who will not act on your behalf without your permission, or maybe someone at a hotline or a local resource in your community. Anyone affected by sexual violence can reach out to the National Sexual Assault Hotline at 800-656-4673. That's 800-656-HOPE. Or visit online.rain.org. That's online.rainn.org. Do all that you can to protect yourself. Sometimes uncouth individuals in power positions take it upon themselves to behave inappropriately. Remember, your well-being and security requires vigilance on your part. Be smart, be safe. One more thing. As part of the new Hollywood generation, others just like you are asking the same questions of themselves. You are not alone. We're all in it together. If you enjoyed this content, please subscribe and click on the bell to know when we have more for you. And more episodes are coming. Please share with someone you know who may find what we spoke about today beneficial. Like if you like what you see, dislike if you don't. And let us hear from you. Are you going to use what we discussed today? Yes or no? Let us know in the comments below. Please consider what I offer you today, and consider what your role is as a new generation of content creators, and feel free to take advantage of other members of the new Hollywood generation community. We're all here to grow together and to help one another. We have a strong group on Twitter. Come join the new Hollywood generation and meet some fellow filmmakers and content creators. As members of the new Hollywood generation, take the time to assess what your short-term and long-term goals are. Make your plan, take a breath, go for it. You can do it once you believe you can. Are you ready for the challenge? If you're looking for filmmaking for beginners, Filmmaking 101, and for some filmmaking tips on how to want to be a filmmaker, make sure to click on the subscribe button. Click that bell so you don't miss anything. Looking for how-to filmmaking essentials? Be sure to check out the videos in the playlist. New to film production? Start here. Think of this channel as a film crash course, filmmaking crash course, and an introduction to filmmaking entrepreneurship to build the skills needed well beyond just how to succeed Hollywood and beyond whatever discussions other how-to film school, how to indie filmmaking in general, how to film industry channels just don't talk about. The whys you truly need to know to help you grow as a thought leader in life, the entertainment industry, and how it applies as part of the new Hollywood generation is in this video series and in the Pollyanna's tear-soaked Battlefields of Hollywood, a survival guide against the cynicism and the hypocritical series of books, links below. Remember, preparation is the key to you and your project's success. Ready?